of the word human being. Quit what? Samsara keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. Life after life after life after life keeps coming back. So, Nara means human being. Ayana means goal. What is the goal of the human being? Ishvara, we have been seeing that. The goal of the human being is to understand that I am non-separate from that which made this world. So, Ayanam means goal. Nara plus Ayanam, because of certain grammatical rules that you don't want to know about, becomes Narayana. Yeah, Narasya Ayanam, Narayana. Yeah, Narayana is a very beautiful name. The goal of the human being, which is the name of God. Yeah. Hari means what? Hari means don't be late. Yeah, you can take it that way also. Don't be late, hurry up. But here Hari means, it comes from Hri. Hri means to take away. Take away what I cannot handle, what I don't want, what is just too much for me, what I cannot just, live with. Take away. Harihi. Harihi is one that takes away. So Narayana Hari is that, oh God, please take away what? Everything that is a cause of affliction for me. Yeah, that is the chant. Okay, shall we begin, Rita? What do you think?
I just wanted to make an announcement. I'm not sure if people are aware that we're taping this for a TV show and also for a possible video series. And the room is really not baby proof. So we'll take your
She approves. Record this also, we have to record?
Yes, please.
Okay then. If that's how you feel. Now why did it go off? Why no? I turned it off by mistake. Okay. We'll just record everything and then start. We won't start till we record, because once I start, it's all over. I forget. Yeah.
So is it good?
No, it takes time, because once you shut it down by mistake, it takes longer. Okay, here it comes. Record. Okay, we are on in one place. Now what do we need to do? Here as well, right? Okay, meeting.
Oh, this one too. I just have to move my car.
So do you want me to wait till you come back?
No, it's on.
It's on,
You're
okay.
on.
All right. Sometimes you don't know what to ask. Om Sahana Vavatu.
Om Sahana Vavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Saha Viryam Karavavahai.
Saha Viryam Karavavahai.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Ma vidvishavahai.
Ma vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Brahma Vida Apnoti Param. Om Brahma Vida Apnoti Param. Tadeshabhyukta. Tadeshabhyukta. Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma. Yo Vedanihitam Guhayam. Yo Vedanihitam Guhayam. Parame Vyoman. Parame Vyoman. Soshnute Sarvan Kamaan Saha. सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति Brahmavid apnoti param. The knower of Brahman gains that which is the ultimate goal in life. The knower of Brahman gains the ultimate. Then of course, and in the one part we did not see, tat esha abhyukta. Esha abhyukta means therefore it is said. Said where? In another Upanishad. In the Rig Veda. In another Veda, because what can the Veda quote? The Veda, being the primary scripture, can quote only another primary scripture. It will not say the roadside, Joe the plumber said, the knower of the Brahman gains the ultimate. Yeah, it won't say, and even if Joe the plumber says that, it will not gain any validity. So, the Upanishad can quote only another Upanishad. This is basically how it is. So what is that quote? This is a quote, because the quote starts because abhyukta, esha rik, abhyukta, esha richa, abhyukta. It has been said by a mantra. Richa means a mantra from the Rig Veda. So what has it been said? So open quotes. This is the way we do open quotes in Sanskrit. So what is this Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And the quote continues. The one who knows as what? As non-separate from oneself. What does that person do? That person gains this, that, everything. Brahmana vipaschita iti. Iti means thus. That is the end quote. Yeah, iti is the end quote. So we are studying a small quote from a very big Upanishad which has three vallis. Vallis means long big chapters. Yeah. So this is the second chapter. The first chapter was all about a lot of different things. The first chapter was about, pronunciation, how to be with the teacher, what to study in life, how to be with one another, how to treat a guest, how to treat one's mother, all these things were talked about. Then having, quote unquote, graduated from how to relate to the world and the people in it, one starts looking into the understanding of who is this I? How do I relate to that which made the world? That is what it is. So if gaining Brahman, if gaining this thing called Brahman gives me that which is ultimate, then what happens? That means that I am free of all the things that I am seeking, because in and through and behind all the things I am seeking, I want to be the best at what I do. I want to have the ultimate. I want to be the ultimate, and this is what I want. So therefore what? Therefore I seek the ultimate. But if the ultimate is separate from me, then I will still continue to be a wanting person. So therefore I need to know what is this thing? What is this thing called Brahman? Will I be happy after I get it? Because if I'm going to continue being the same, truncated, abridged, edited and punctuated person, all whatever full of slashes and quotes and what's that, rewrites, then especially the rewrites. So, if I'm going to be that kind of a person, then what's the use of gaining Brahman? Might as well go for a movie. Might as well go, and do some more composting. At least it gives me some joy. Right? So why should I do this? Why is it that I have to gain this? And that is why the words Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. 3 words which are not the property of Brahman. Because if they were the property of Brahman, what would happen? Brahman would be a capitalist. Brahman is an individual having 3 things. What is that? Satyam one day, Jnanam another day, and Anantam third day. No, it's not a property of Brahman. Yeah, it's not rental property. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. No. And it's not an attribute of Brahman. Why? Because Brahman is without attributes. formless, nameless, but yet containing and encompassing all names and forms, upholding the manifestation of all the names and forms, but itself free of all names, all forms. That is what we are discussing. That is what we are thinking about. That is what we are talking about. And so we cannot say these three words are property of Brahman. No, they are not the property for reasons we talked about. They are also not the, what's its name, qualities of Brahman. Why not I say they are qualities of Brahman? Bring me a big, orange, juicy mango. Bring me a Brahman, that is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. No, this is another mistake. Because each time you say this is a property, my property is not me, correct? If I own a house, it's not me. Of course, I may get confused and think it's me when somebody insults the house and says, oh, you live in this hovel? Wait, what do you mean? I just remodeled. So that time I may think that, somebody is insulting me if they are saying something about the house. But generally speaking, I know that the house is not me. I know that the dog is not me. I know that if I have a horse, it's not me. It may belong to me, but the property creates, having a property means what? There are two things. The property owner and the property also. Two things. So I am propertied. You see? The propertied and the property. Two separate things. So then you cannot say Brahman is everything and only one and non-dual. You cannot say. Because it has also some properties. Yeah. In Costa Rica. Not possible. So that is not a possibility. Then the second thing is what? It cannot be a qualification. Because if you say it's a qualification, again two things. One is the quality and then the other is the qualifier. Again it splits into two. It's not right. It splits into two. One is the quality of it and the other is what qualifies that. And therefore, we cannot say that Brahman is the property. We cannot say Brahman is the quality. How about Brahman has split into Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam? No. It's not a split situation. Brahman, it does not have MPD. Okay? Yeah. MPD means what? Multiple personality disorder. Brahman doesn't have. Yeah. So one day Satyam, another day Anantam, third day Jnanam. No. Yeah. Yeah. So then what we have to say is that Brahman is free of everything. So what is this Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam? What is this? How do we even this thing? That is for us to understand. It's the definition. The definition does not split that which is non-dual into two. Like how? Like if you want to define space. If I want to define space, if I want to define space, what will I say? That which accommodates is space. Correct? Right?
Yes.
Avakasha pradatra akashaha. To put it in Sanskrit. So if I say that which defines is space, then I'm not splitting space into two. I'm not saying accommodation is the property of space. I'm not saying accommodation is a quality of space. No, it's a definition of space. It's an entirely different thing. So too, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are three ways of understanding Brahman. It's a definition of that which is whole. And what is that? You. It's a definition of you. No. Like this is a bit too much. Up till as long as you were saying Brahman, I was okay. But then don't bring me into it, really. You don't know my life story. Yeah. And you know what? I don't want to, rehash it with you either. So don't bring me into it. You can talk about Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. It feels nice. Actually, I need a break from myself. That's why I come to the classes. Because, I thought at least let me hear something that feels good. But then if you start bringing me into it, I'll have to leave. Because this is too much to handle. You don't know my life story and then it'll all be up to me. I have to understand I am Brahman and it'll all fall on my shoulders. I have a busy schedule. And I don't have the time to, really sort of think of this. I have children, I have this, I have that. You don't know the number of responsibilities I have. That is why yesterday and day before we have spent 2 days talking about the word jnanam. That word jnanam is a mahavakya, a sentence that expresses the non-duality, the equation between oneself, this person who feels that he or she is on the brink of falling apart, and this wholeness, this Ishvara that is whole, that is complete, that is full, that is, total. There is what? A big gap. And we saw yesterday the psychological order. The psychological order where I don't have to look here. I just have to know what kind of problems lurk here and play with one another. That's all I have to know. The psychological order in the form of the unconscious that informs every being. And how to relate to Ishvara in the form of the psychological order, in the form of one who is subject to the psychological order. So which means what? Even though there is an essential non-difference, there is an as-though difference because of the as-though conditioning. If space, the space that exists in this pot, let us call it what? Pot space. Yeah? The space that exists in this pot is pot space. And even though day and night, I tell it, you know what? You are the same as space outside. In fact, you have a direct connection. See? You're not even contained. Yeah. You're a very holy pot. You have a hole here. So you're not even contained. The space is not contained. It's just passing through. It's just space. It's pot space. The pot is incidental. The pot is clay. The pot comes and goes. The space is what it is. Then what? Yes, I know that I am space. But how do I experience space? This is what happens. That is one question that can come, possibly. The second question that can come is, yeah, but space is everywhere and this little potness is too much. I want to get rid of the pot in order to be free. So to the human being, even though you say what? That Brahman which you wish to know and wish to experience is what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Oh. And you, even though you feel limited, are what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Oh. Yeah, that's all great. But this body is coming in the way. The mind is coming in the way. The senses are coming in the way. In the way of what? Experiencing Brahman. Like it's almost like I'm sitting in front of a wonderful theater where the thing is going on. And then, sometimes it happens. You go to a symphony. Sometimes they hold these symphonies and these, classical concerts in churches, which have these big pillars. So this is really a place of worship, but it has become a makeshift, it has become the place of worship, it has become a makeshift, what is it called? A place of symphony. What is that thing called? Symphony, like a concert hall. It has thank you. It has been converted into a makeshift concert hall. What? This church. And you're sitting, just because of it is you, nobody else. Everybody else seems to have a wonderful view. You are behind a big pillar. Yeah. You are behind a big pillar. And you would love to be in touch with a concert. You would love to say, oh, who is that singing now? You have to look this side. Then your neck is aching because you are leaning on this side. Then you go to the other side of the pillar. Then you say, okay. Then the whole concert, 2 hours, everyone else is enjoying. But for you, there is this big block. This big cement column or this big wooden column is right where your seat is. Yeah. And of course, when you went for the tickets, it was the last seat that was available. So that is kind of how this Brahma Darshanam, because everyone wants darshan. Darshan kab doge? Darshan. Darshan means I want to see. Yeah. You can see everything except yourself, the truth of yourself. That you cannot see. Why? Because it's you. You can see everything. So instead of saying, I think the question has to be, instead of saying, I want to see, oh, I want to see, instead of saying, oh my God, I want to see, we have to change the wordings to, oh me God, I want to be. Yeah, not see, be, I want to be. Or I am already and I want to know. That is the main problem here. The problem is wanting to see something that is never able to be seen. Why? Because the seer cannot be seen. Yeah, but the eyes are the ones that see. I can see the eyes if I look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, but if you're looking at, if the eyes have a problem, how do you know you have conjunctivitis? Or you're not seeing well, that you need glasses? How do you know? Oh, that's simple. The mind sees. Okay, the mind sees, but how? But you are also a person who can objectify the mind. You say, today I am now no good. Don't even talk to me. Today I am restless. Today I am happy. Today I am angry. And if you say this, I'll be upset. Today I am free of problems. Today I am sleepy. Who is it? Today I am hungry. Today I am angry. Who is it that is behind the mind? Oh, now this is all getting too technical. Yeah. That's you. That Sakshi, that witness who is able to see the body, the eyes, the mind, and all the processes within is you. That witness is not able to see itself. Why? Because it is never objectified. It's always the subject. There is only one thing which is always the subject. You, Ishvara. Ishvara, you. You as Ishvara. That's all it is. Always the subject, can never be objectified. That is why all the poets have this bhava. Bhava means this devotional, emotional quality comes because in the process of knowing this, there is a lot of sadness and trauma, and that trauma is expressed as darshana kab doge. When will you give me that sight? That sight is again within inverted commas. That sight is an internal affair. You know? Even in our language, in English and all, we say it. How do we say this? We say, for example, you know, did you see it? Did you see it? Do you see it now? Yes, I see it. But it's not about seeing. It's about understanding. Sometimes to say, I understand it, we say, I see it. Yes, I see it. So similarly, that sight is actually an inner sight. That sight is called an insight. And that insight comes from knowledge. No other way of knowing, as we will see shortly. So Satyam, Jnanam. Jnanam is the one who is always trying to grasp at the ungraspable from the point of view of this limited, pot body, pot mind, pot belly, whatever. And then the other is the whole. The pot is also the whole. The pot space is also the whole, but the pot space doesn't know that it is the whole. Therefore, it tries to grasp at everything possible, and that jnanam includes both the things. Includes on the one hand the limited feeling, the individual that feels hopeless, helpless, limited, and it includes also the limitless, which is Ishvara, which can be embodied, as we saw yesterday, in the order of psychology, in the order of physics, in any of the orders accessible. And this is the equation. Just like Einstein, E equals to mc squared. And if you show it to a fourth grader, what are they going to say? Oh, here there are, two letters. There is a letter, two letters and one letter. On the other side, there are two letters and a square sign. How do I understand this? So it's like an 8-year-old being told, 5 plus 4 is equal to 20 minus 11. What? One side single digits, plus sign. Another side double digits, minus sign. How can the two be the same? And the student cannot say, I believe you, teacher. Whatever you say is fine. I have so much shraddha, I have so much faith that I believe you completely. You only said shraddhavan labhate jnanam. The one who has devotion gains. Okay, I believe you. Yeah, you keep saying, keep talking. It feels good, I believe you. No, that will not do. Shraddha will take you, to the water. What? The teaching. Yeah. The horse will be taken to the water. The stubborn horse is taken to the water of the Guru. The knowledge of the Guru is the water, the Ganga. You can take the horse, but you can't make it drink. That one has to have the wherewithal to recognize that this is important to learn. That comes with a lot of, purva punya, a lot of discrimination, viveka, vairagya, etc. So jnanam this is the thing. So the child who doesn't know 5 plus 4 is equal to 20 minus 11 has to be told, has to be, whether you use sticks or stones, has to be made to understand that is the case. If it is made to understand, then it sees. The child says, oh, I see it. Just like Archimedes saw the principle of buoyancy. He understood it. Yeah, so this is the whole, pursuit. And the pursuit is a pursuit where that jnanam, the knowledge, is what is the, on the one hand, the word jnanam is split into knower, known, knowledge in any kind of a discrete thing that we look at, like this pot. Knower of the pot, me, pot, known, the process of knowing, all that happens. But in the other jnanam, there are two meanings of the word jnanam. The first one implies the person who is yet to know, who is in the process of knowing. The second one implies a person who is all knowledge without a head. Oh, Ishvara is headless horseman? No. Without a head means without the limitations of the head. If the head is so big, only so much knowledge can go, correct? Only so much grey matter, white matter. Yeah. Ishvara is knowledge without a head. Ishvara is being without any small, everything is his body, her body, everything, the sun, the moon. We have a Purusha Sukta talking about the Purusha, and there it says the sun and the moon are the eyes of this being, the cosmic being. Sun and the moon, of course, are the eyes, because those are the two heavenly bodies that we know and we can see. And so if the sun and the moon are the eyes, what is the foot? What is the hands? Everything is all, the whole solar system, the galaxies are the body, the universe is the body. Like that, there is an imaginary thing. So, not imaginary, it is a truth, but it's a way of relating to that. So then here, if you say the cosmic body includes everything, includes one's own omissions and commissions, it includes the psychological order, but it includes the physical order, but itself is free from everything. That is that jnanam, the knowing which is more of a being. That jnanam which is sentience, which is existent. The sentience that is existent is what? The last word, anantam. Never ending. Never was there a beginning, never will there be an end. How do you know? Yeah, we know that because everything that is in time undergoes what is called Shad Vikaraha, 6 stages of modification. First one is what? Jayate, is born. Okay? Alright, then what? Asti, if it survives, the indoors, the outdoors, the vagaries of the weather, if it survives, asti, it survives. Second stage. Third stage, vardhate. Vardhate means what? Grows up. Fourth stage, viparinamate. Viparinamate means undergoes various changes, blossoms, reproduces. Yeah. And then after that, it's not sounding very good. Apakshiyate. Even the word apakshiyate sounds a little funny. And means what? Starts to decay. Oh, yeah. It happens. Suddenly one day you wake up, there is a crick in the neck. And each time you turn your head, some takak sound comes. And you don't know where it was. You open your mouth, some jaw starts to pop. Yeah. Something says pop, something says mom, and then that's it, that's over. Keeps doing something or the other. So then one needs a stick to, walk. Yeah. We have a Sanskrit, riddle. This is the riddle. What, goes on 4 legs when in its childhood, on 2 legs as an adult, and on 3 legs. What is 4-legged in its childhood, 2-legged as an adult, and 3-legged in old age? With a stick, you need a stick, so that's 3 legs. Apakshiyate. In fact, science has shown that one grows shorter in stature as one grows older, because everything becomes like that. Yeah. And finally what? Tata. Vinashyati. Bye bye. Vinashyati means, what is that? Ram Naam Satya Hai. That's all we have to say. Yeah. You have joined the elements. The body has joined the elements. Is no longer there in the same way that one knows. Vinashyati. Yeah. So that is the 6 stages. Everything that you know, everything that you can see, everything that you can, objectify is not exempt from these 6 stages. Everything. Except what? Where? I want to know that. Where is it? You. Oh, but I'm in the last leg of my life. Don't you know one leg is hanging in the grave? Indians talk like this. They say, oh, my age is gone. One leg is hanging in the grave. They start talking like this at the age of 40. Yeah. I don't know if it's because, they are trying to prepare for something or it's because of some greater wisdom. We do not know. Yeah. So this is how it is. One leg is already in the grave. One leg, we have already climbed the funeral pyre with one leg. This is how they talk. Yeah. So this is so everything, but what are you talking about? I am exempt from the 6 stages? Yes. How? That is why Shraddha is needed. Yeah, this is not something that can be logically established. If Brahman could be logically established as that which is Anantam, free of time, free of space, free of all kinds of limitations, then we don't need these talks. Because then what we would do is, then there would be a contradiction. The limited person with a limited head, a limited body, a limited mind, limited thinking, more prone to errors than correct thinking, logically infers what? That Brahman is limitless? How is it possible for the limited to infer that it is limitless? It's not possible at all. Impossible totally. And therefore we need a little bit of a understanding here. Guru Mukhat, it comes through the teaching, it comes through the grace of the teacher. The teacher's grace alone can bring these teachings, otherwise it is not possible. Grace of the teacher, the grace of Ishvara brings the teachings, and we look upon the Veda as a means of knowledge. The Veda is not a book, a novel. Who done it? Okay, Brahman. Okay, fine. Yeah, we know who is the hero? Brahman. Who is the villain? Brahman only. Who else will be the villain? There is only one person. You can never go wrong. It's not a novel. The Veda is not regarded as a book which you can just read and then in your spare bedtime reading. No, you can read Veda in your bedtime, but all you will get out of it is sleep. Yeah, it will be a nice lullaby. And also the Veda has some things to say about oneself. Which self? The self that is subject to feelings and notions of limitations. The self that is subject to feelings of limitations cannot infer or deduce or completely somehow come to the conclusion that it is free of all limitations. Anantam. That is why the word Anantam, infinite or limitless, brings with it the responsibility of how to understand that I am the whole. How to understand that? Because if it is written in the Veda, I should be able to understand that. Yes, you should be. But what is coming in the way is great, amounts of resistance. I'm so used to being this little small space. Don't take me out of this. I'm happy to just be a little, what should I say? Little pot space. That once in a while says Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. That's enough for me. I don't want to be any bigger, because somehow what happens is that, if you're small, if you feel small, then what? You'll at least have just a small headache, right? Small head means small headache. So if my head is as big as the universe, imagine the headache. Yeah, but that's not how it works. We are not talking of an aggregate. Ishvara is not an aggregate of human problem. Why doesn't Ishvara have a collective headache? This is a question you should ask. Yeah, because Ishvara doesn't have a collective head. That's why. No head, no headache. Because it's not that there is no head. It is that all heads are Ishvara. So Ishvara is free of having or be associating with or identifying with any one head. So Anantam, na antam, anantam, limitless. So what kinds of limitations are there in the world? We have talked about these 6 stages in the human life cycle. There is also some other 3 kinds of limitations are there. The one is time-wise limited. Desha kala vastu parichinnatvam. Parichinnaha means limited. Desha, space. Kala, time. Vastu, object-wise. So space-wise limitation, object-wise limitation, time-wise limitation. Space-wise, you know what that means. If a thing, this is all physics, if a thing occupies a particular space, it will, or a volume, it will always occupy that space, correct? That is how it will be. So this pot, if it is weighing so much and occupying this much space, suddenly it will not occupy a lot of space. It will, it will occupy the same space all the time. It is confined by, a certain space that it occupies. It is confined also by time. Time-wise limited. Everything that you can objectify. Time-wise limited means what? There was a time when this wasn't, and I assure you there will be a time that it won't be. Won't be what? A pot. Oh, what will it be then? Crackpot. I've told you so many times. If it'll get cracked, it'll become a crackpot. So this is the whole thing. Time-wise limitation. It has a beginning, a birthday, a day of death, all these things. Then there is object-wise limitation. This pot cannot be the pot and this microphone at the same time. It can either have the thing of a pot or the microphone. It cannot do 2 things at once. Object-wise limitation. So if one is in this body, one cannot also be in 5 other bodies. So everything that you can objectify, your own body, including other people's body or mind or senses, are subject to these kinds of limitations. But Brahman, Ishvara, is free of those limitations. And knowing myself as free of those limitations, what happens is that I gain the ultimate. You already said the body is subject to these limitations. Yes. You said the mind is subject to these limitations. Yes. You said the senses are subject to these limitations. Yes. And you said knowing you're not limited. Yes. If I am subject to these limitations, how will I know that I am limitless? Because the body, the mind and the senses are all you, no doubt, but you are not any one of them. This is the thing. Like yesterday we talked of that actor. What is that actor? What was that actor? Matt Damon. So, Damon, that's his name? Damon. Okay, yeah. I thought Damon is not a very nice last name to have. So, Damon. Okay. So in one role he has to wear pagadi, turban, and in another role he has to wear a hat, a top hat. In the third role he has to wear a scarf. In the fourth role he has to wear, in a fourth movie he has to wear a bandana. What is the mat? Do you think the hatted person cannot be without Matt the actor, correct? Yes. The turbaned character cannot exist without Matt the actor, correct? Yes. The scarfed character cannot exist without Matt the actor, yes. And what else is left? The bandana person also cannot exist without Matt the actor. Now, For Matt to be Matt, does he need all these 4 costumes? No. Matt to be Matt is free of all the costumes, but he upholds the roles along with the costumes and whatever they signify, and he is as though playing the roles. Similarly, the jiva, this hopeless, helpless individual trying to understand its own nature, plays the roles of being as though in a limited body, in a limited mind, in a limited, limited senses, and yet knowing that one is limitless. Some wonderful things start to happen if you know that. Because what starts to happen, is that whatever small things, it doesn't irritate you anymore. Really. Because you know you are the whole, you know you are God, you are none other than that the essence of me is that Anantam, endlessness. So the small things stop to bother you. Stop bothering you. Yeah. And when they stop bothering, what happens? You are free enough to have more problems. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I like this. Well, the thing is, there's nothing not to like. If the problems don't confront you, then the problems multiply. Why? Because there are not that many people who feel free. Yeah. So the few people, that happen to catch a Vedanta class and understand that they are free, people will just rush to them. Saying, oh, help me with this, help me with that. Why? Because you seem so calm. How calm? What is this thing? How are you so calm? So you become like a bedrock of the community, which is a wonderful feeling, which is really nice, all because which is centered on this knowledge. And if this knowledge, if you say, okay, Brahman, I understood. Brahman is what? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. What is it? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So Satyam is that which is existent, which is sentient, which is alive. And third, Anantam, with that which is free of limitations. Oh, wonderful. Are we ready to pack up? No. Look at the next line. Yo Veda, Yaha Veti. The one who knows. As what? Nihitam Guhayam. The one who knows this Brahman as sitting in a cave. Oh, you didn't tell me that there is a field trip to the Himalayas to go see Brahman. You didn't tell me that there is a field trip to the Himalayas to go see Brahman sitting in a cave. What kind of a cave? I'd also like to go see Brahman sitting in a cave. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam. Yeah. This is Brahman sitting in a cave. Oh, Brahman is sitting in a cave? Oh, wonderful. What kind of a cave? Guhayam Parame Vyoman. The ultimate space. Yeah. Sitting in the cave, that is a very big space. Oh, sitting in a big cave, spacious cave, in Rishikesh, there is one meditation center, and they wanted to give people, this is in India, at the foothills of the Himalayas, they wanted to give these people a meditational experience within quotes. So they made these little kind of I don't know what they are, some igloo kind of structures on top of the hills. So that, and they all have air conditioned light, fan, coffee dispensing machines, everything. They're all only geared for people, Westerners, to experience caves, really. Yeah. So there is a coffee dispensing machine, coffee or chai, I don't know what there is. And then there is all these, little lights, reading material, all this. But it is small and enclosed, and you go there to have a cave-like experience. You go there and find out how the caveman lived. Yeah. Without, and of course now that I also read in the paper that they're introducing Wi-Fi in the caves. You know what Wi-Fi is? Internet access, yeah. Now I can go there and teach, see? So maybe they are for modern swamis, who knows. But anyway, the thing is, the thing is this, that, this is, I took a tour of that because I was curious. Somebody said, would you like to see? I said, sure. Because you can see it from, from the banks of the Ganga. It was on the other side. Huge caves, and nobody is using them because they are very costly. They are not ordinary caves, so you have to pay a lot to go there for a weekend. So is it that kind of a cave? Because, of all the caves that are there in the Himalayas, I want to know which cave Brahman is in, because the sooner I know the cave, the sooner I go and give a hug to Brahman, I become free. I become one with Brahman. I am away from Brahman. I have been crying, Brahman, come to me. Where are you? And now this address of Brahman is supposedly being given in this next slide. Brahman is a little outdated because it was there from the beginning, even there was no beginning even, so it doesn't have email address, but it has a physical location, the dark cave. Oh, cave, okay. What kind of a cave? The darkest cave. What? Yeah, but how am I going? Is there light there? No. Does the sun shine there? Na tatra suryo bhati. The sun does not shine. Oh, okay, moonlight. We are going to make it nice, romantic. Me and Brahman. Just me and Brahman, no one else. Because I have been having this love affair with Brahman, so just me and Brahman, moonlit night, and then finally I get it. I am Brahman, I am one with Brahman. No. Na chandra tarakam, neither the moon, and then before you ask it, no, there is no starlight there either. Oh, I'm in trouble. Lightning. In other words, Vidyut. Yeah. So, Nema Vidyuto Bhanti. There is no lightning there. What? And in fact, it's plural. No lightnings there. Oh, what about the next? Because they don't want you to ask. What about the next lightning? Perhaps will strike and light up the cave. Nema Vidyuto Bhanti. Okay, fire. No. Kutoyam Agnihi. Not even this little camphor light that you are trying to light. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयमग्निः. Oh, this is a dark. I don't know. I'm afraid of the dark. Have always been. Yeah, it's frightening. You don't know what's under the bed. Yeah, I've always been afraid of the dark, and now you say the thing that is going to free me and the thing that I really want and the thing that I really need to know is in this dark place which is not lit by the sun, which is not lit by the moon, which is not lit by the stars, which is not even lit by Vidyut. We know what a wonderful personality she is. But if it's not even lit by Vidyut, then what am I going to do? Then you know why? There is only one other possibility. Either it's a dark, forgotten, dank, rusty, musty, moldy place, as one fears. Or is one projecting? Is that what one finds in here? Yeah. And one is projecting that is what Brahman is. So one possibility is that Brahman, the cave of Brahman, Guha, which is being talked about, is this dark, dingy, rusty, musty place, or it is a place that need not be lit. Why? Why should a place not be lit, need not be lit? What is the one reason why a place does not need light, doesn't need to be lit?
Because it's full of light.
Huh?
Because it's full of light.
It is already light. It's already lit. Oh, Habba, thank God. Thank God. Now we are in a good place. Now we can have a conversation. Oh, I can visit Brahman anytime. Okay, there is electricity. Okay, we didn't discuss that. But yeah, sure. 1000-watt bulb? Okay. The kind that you grow plants in the winter? Perhaps. No. It's a light unlike any other light. What are you talking about, unlike any other light? What is this light? It is that light that lights up everything. No, wait. The sun lights up everything. It rises in the morning, and of course, living in Eugene, we may have forgotten that, but it does, it's been very obliging the last week, and it has been showing in anticipation for this particular class. It has been rising every day and showing without fail what? That there is such a thing called the sun, and it rises, and as soon as it rises, it lights up the whole universe. So it is the The sun is what lights everything up, not this other peculiar light that you're talking about. Yes, we'll take it as it goes. But what is that makes you say that the sun is shining? What is that? Huh?
You see it.
Yeah. So it's the eyes that say that the sun is shining? No. The eyes are backed by the mind. So the mind says the sun is shining? No. Well, now it is getting really confusing. The mind again is objectified by what? That light. The light of awareness. That I am, that knowledge which lights up everything, which is aware of itself, which is aware of everything else. That light is the only light which even makes me see the sun. Yeah. On a relative level, if you have an example, it would be like saying, I want to see the sun with a flashlight. I'm giving a guided tour of the sun, okay? So here is a flashlight, okay, to, the item number 1, sun, look. It is foolish. Why? Because it's not necessary. Similarly, this light which I am is so powerful, so all-knowing, so existent, so endless, so sentient, so knowledgeable. It's the light of all the lights, because it is this light alone in which light everything comes to light. Yeah. It lights up that which is a rock, which is insentient. It lights up that which is sentient. It lights up everything in between. It even lights up oneself. I am evident to myself. And everything becomes evident to whom? To me alone. I am therefore the light of all lights. Okay, I get that. In fact, this is quite cool. Now what? What is this cave that you talked about? The cave is the dank, dark, moldy, cobwebby cave is, you know those before-after pictures? Before, after. Before the knowledge, one is crying. Why? Darshan kab doge? When are you going to give me this knowledge, this sight? When am I going to see you, oh God? Where do I look at you? How do I call you? What is your form? What is your mystery? Reveal it to me now. Reveal it to me yesterday. What am I doing? How many lives have I spent like this? That is the song of the yearning devotee. Yeah, it is good to yearn, really, because at least if we reach the stage of the yearning devotee, the yearning will be fulfilled. That stage itself is hard to reach. Why? Because the feeling is, I know everything. And what is this going to do to me? Nothing. The yearning is the seeker wanting the sought. Like we said last week also, what is that? Lahari dhoonde leher ko. The wave is looking for the ocean. Kapada dhoonde soot. The what is that? The yarn is looking for what? The fabric. I want to see the cloth. Yeah. Then Jiva dhoonde brahma ko. This individual, the ignorant individual called the Jiva, is looking for Brahman. Which flashlight shall I use to look at Brahman? Looking everywhere. Tino utake ut, the saint says, okay, not me. He says all three of them are what? Big fools. Fool of fools. Why? Because you are what you are looking for. You are that what you seek. There is nothing outside of you. There is nothing other than you. That you that we are talking about is not cut up into parts. There is nothing like you, there is nothing unlike you, there is nothing, parts of you, aspects of you. You are that which is non-dual and whole. Knowing this, you are the happiest person on the earth. Not knowing this, you are lamenting how cold you are in that dark, dank cave that you talked about. The Hindu temples mirror this. You go first, there is a little kind of a outer enclosure. When you go again, and in the big temples that are constructed properly according to all the Shastric, things, there are 7 gateways, 7 entrances, which talk about, sometimes there are 5. If there are 5, they are koshas. Koshas means loci of error. Where is it that I make the mistake of limitations? Where is it that I make that error? First I think I am this body. So anything that body happens to the body, oh, I am sick. No, it's the body that has fever, not you. Yeah, but the feeling is what? I am sick. That the body becomes the first loci of error. I am fat, I am thin. Second is what? Prana. I am hyperventilating, I am angry, I am hungry. Second problem, the second locus of error, second place where I make that mistake of identification. The third one is, the first one is called Annamaya, body level, Pranamaya, level of the prana, Manomaya, level of the mind. I am the undecided one, I am the thinker, I am the thought, this confusion. Then Vijnanamaya, I am the doer. This is a big one, okay? Yeah. Doership. I am responsible for everything, every problem is my problem. How to live in life like that? Then finally, okay, I am not the doer, I am the experiencer, Anandamaya. I am not the doer, but I am the done in by other people's doings. Yeah. My own commissions get me in the first level, in the fourth level. Then the fifth level, if somehow I escape that for 2 minutes, other people's omissions and commissions are waiting there to catch me. This is what it is. So these are the 5 loci of error. So you go through and through those things. The 5 little entrances, gateways to the temple signify those 5 places where you can make a mistake. So you are going through them. Means not that you are taking away the body. It's not like the error, the body has to be removed in order to see the Atma. No. Just like the pot doesn't have to be broken to see the pot space. The body just has to be understood. This is how it is. It grows old. It goes all over the place. It has balance problem. It has a headache. It either gives a headache to other people or it itself has a headache. You just have to live with it. That's all. You just understand you are not only this. The body is you, but you are not the body. It's not dissociation. So you go through these 5 gateways, then the light is kind of closing in, because in the Hindu temples there is no electricity. On purpose. There are no fans, no lights, nothing. It's just, and no windows. The god should not be in a place where there are windows behind. It is considered, windows, open windows. It should be in an enclosed space. Why? Because this is Vastu Shastra. The Vastu, Indian feng shui, is going along with this knowledge. So it's a complete enclosure, which we call Garbha, which is the embryo of the temple, which is the sanctum sanctorum. Is that what we say in English? Sanctum sanctorum. Not English, Latin, okay? So we go there, and by this time you can't see anyone. And thankfully it doesn't matter if you can't see anyone, and it doesn't matter you don't know where you're going, because there are enough people behind you to push you to where you need to go. There's a long supposedly queue within quotes, but it's just a mass of people that push you in. So you don't have to worry how to get there. Then you're standing blinking there. Nothing you see. This is the Sanctum Sanctorum. This is supposed to be Meenakshi temple in Madurai. This is supposed to be the goddess temple in the most holy place, in one of the most holy places in South India. Madurai, Meenakshi, goddess Meenakshi. You can't see the goddess at all, much less what she is, what she looks like, nothing. All you can see is a small little flickering lamp somewhere, which doesn't light up anything, Only the priest who has been there for a long time, his eyes are accustomed to the darkness, and he will say, okay. And he will light a small camphor lamp. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam, and he will go around the deity, lighting up the deity. Up and around and up and around, he will take from top to toe. You see the whole deity with the help of this mantra. That there, where the sun, there the sun does not shine. What to talk of moon? What to talk of stars? What to talk of even lightning? And what to talk of this little camphor light that I am daring to show, that which is the light of lights, that because of which I see the camphor lamp, not the other way around. But may this camphor lamp signify to be the light of knowledge that lights the light of lights in my heart, in this dank, moldy cave of my heart. It's miraculous. That is ritualized every single day. It becomes an act of prayer so that I get this knowledge. Everywhere, where whatever part or sect of Hinduism, this arati is a very big must at the end of the prayer. The arati means prayer, worship, and the worship takes this place of this camphor lamp or any kind of little oil lamp, candle being shown. Who is the candle? What is this cave? That is the cave. So the sanctum sanctorum, is this little, cave of the heart, which is full of misconceptions about the self, which is full of all kinds of wrong information, which has internalized all the, hatred, all the inconsistencies, all the limitations, the so-called limitations. It has taken the fact that it is the body for itself. It has taken the fact that it is not, it has whatever it is not, it has taken itself to be the body, just the mind alone. I am the mind. I am the doer. I am the experiencer. I am subject to guilt. I am subject to hurt. The whole thing is just knocked off by which knowledge? That is the light, and that light is already there. It has to be lit up. What is there? What is shown in the light? What you see, Ishvara, immediately you go like this. You see the goddess. When the goddess is lighted up with this camphor lamp, you see the whole form. Oh, how beautiful, how lovely, how tremendous. What is this wonderful thing that is happening? Then you have this darshan, and after you have this darshan, you have to have the darshan inside. That's what it is. That inner seeing is what the outer seeing emulates and and ritualizes, so that one gains the emotional maturity to understand that all this internal thing has been, projected outside, so that I can seek this knowledge. So Ishvara is where? Here. The cave, the damp, dark cave without electricity, fan, AC is where? Here. Ill-ventilated cave is where? Here. No window, everything is closed in. Where? Here. Because it's all enclosed. Through the body, through the mind, through the senses, through everything, it's all enclosed. And only, it doesn't matter how many temples I go to and what I see and how many aratis I attend, if I don't do the same arati here, if I don't do that same understanding here, then what? I do not get the benefits out of knowing Brahman. Brahman will always be another object in the world. Then you can have coffee time conversations. You meet a friend for coffee. Let's talk about Brahman. I love Brahman. And the other one, will say, I hate Brahman. Both of them are equally ignorant. That's all. It's nothing to love or hate. It is you. Yeah. It's not one more thing in the universe. I love cappuccino, I hate latte, and then I love Brahman. No, it's not one more thing in the universe. It is that which enables you, which upholds all your love and your dislikes. It upholds your actions without really being involved in it. It is that light in which all actions, all mistakes and everything is committed. Just like the sunshine, on a relative level, this example we can take. The sun is shining. And there is a robbery that is happening. Yeah. I think I told you this story. So this lady called me up and said that there was a robbery. And she came home from work and she saw two big plastic bags, black plastic bags on her porch. She assumed they belonged to the upstairs neighbor who has kept it there. She said, oh, they might be taking it out, let me not disturb it. Then she went in the house, she saw the window was open. Oh, before she went in the house, she saw one man, going this way, on one side of the house. Then she went into the house, she waved the man waved back. And then she went inside the house, she saw the window was open. She said, "Oh, I have left the window open, how unusual." She closed the window because it was chilly. Then, she saw the man coming out the same way that he had gone. Then she said, "Why does he seem to be in a hurry? Let me go out and see." Then she went out and saw, and he was carrying a laptop under his arm, and it looked like her laptop. Okay? And then what happened? He waved this time. He initiated the wave and waved to her. She also waved back. Then when she went to her desk, there was no laptop. Yeah. So this is the thing, If the sun is shining there in her house, where at the moment this was bright daylight robbery. So the sun is shining there, and let us suppose, we don't know what the neighbors are doing. Let us suppose and also he put the laptop in the car. Look at this, okay? I have forgotten. We have to complete the story. Never leave the ends, without winding up the ends. The 2 black bags he also came and, lifted to put in his truck after he had put the laptop. Then she asked him, "Do you need any help?" And he said, No, I got it, thanks a lot." And we don't know whose things they were. I said, "I'm glad you didn't help him, because you would be aiding and abetting something that you didn't even know." But anyhow, so that was to complete the story. Now the thing is this: let us suppose in the neighboring house they were having a Gita study group. Yeah. And everybody was chanting the Gita. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavah mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Yeah. And since they were having it outside, let us say, in the lawn, they were having the Gita study group. And right in next door, there is this thief coming and, stealing the computer in front of the owner of the computer. Okay? So which is the good activity, need we say? Okay, which is the bad activity, we know. The sun doesn't say, "Oh, bad man, let me withdraw the light and only shine it on the Gita study group students, on the people chanting satsangs and songs. Let me just, do the people who are chanting. Let me not withdraw the light from there." Does the sun do that? No. The sun equally shines. Why? Because that's its job. What is its job? To bring things to light. That is the job of the Atma, that is the job of Brahman, that is the job to bring things to light. So my own commissions, painfully brought to light. My own, limitations, my own identification with certain limitations, my own mistakes brought to light. Other people's mistakes brought to light. Other people's omissions and commissions brought to light. It doesn't stop anything, it just upholds everything. Yeah. So that's why we say Brahman is beyond good and bad. Okay, all that is fine. But what is the reward? I have come every single day of this, 5-day lecture series. And in fact, many times it wasn't convenient. Okay? Because I had places to go, people to see, things to do. What is this? Brahman is not going to pay the bills. Brahman is not going to feed the children. Brahman is not going to do the household chores. Brahman doesn't know how to operate the vacuum cleaner. But still, I left all that behind. And I was here every single day. What am I getting out of these talks? What is the reward? Next line. Saha ashnute. Ashnute means eats. Okay, finally. Now we are talking. Okay. No, potluck is a little while away, okay? Yeah. Eats. Oh, you get to eat? Yes. What? The knower of Brahman gains the ultimate, and also not only gains the ultimate, because ultimate, big deal. That I'm a little far away from. Yeah, the talks were good, I get what you're saying, but I'm wondering what is the immediate result of knowing this, because I need a little more, carrot in front of me. What is the carrot here? And Upanishad, if anyone can bribe, it's the Upanishad. Yeah. Shamelessly it says, if you do this, you will have something wonderful. All the time. Why? The praise of the knowledge is for those minds who are, reward oriented, result oriented. Those people who are karma based, I always have to do and then get an achievement and accomplishment. So that's why in the West, in children's schools, they will give you one gold star, you know. All the time the children come home with sticky stars. Yeah. Why star? Because, I went to school, that's why star. Then next day, why star? Because I was quiet when I was supposed to not be talking, I didn't talk, therefore star. Next day star, because I breathed, I got a star. Because I didn't complain, I got a star. So this is done to encourage the children. It's a good thing. I'm not criticizing it. All I'm saying is that it is not just for children. Even the adults seem to not grow out of the need for these gold stars. That is the point. Children, okay, you can understand, you have to make them, somehow be part of this. But even as adults, one wants to know, what am I going to get out of this? If I get something, I will go. What are you going to promise me? Okay, the person who knows Brahman gains the whole. And for those for whom it is not enough to gain the whole, the last line says, Saha ashnute. Ashnute what? Eats. What does the person eat? He or she eats sarvan kaman. Eats means gets to experience all the desires. Oh, okay, now you have my complete attention. Okay. I am leaning from my chair. Why? Because now you are talking. Because this Brahman, nonsense or sense, whatever it is, this Brahman thing is fine. If you are, somehow not in the society. But if you're in the society, means what? You have needs, you have desires. And you cannot say that, leave everything and just focus on Brahman. How can you leave everything? Yeah. You have the children to raise, you have the retirement to worry about, you have, a house to take care of. That's why you call yourself a householder. Even though the house is holding you, you are not holding the house at all. You are held by the house. But nonetheless, you call yourself a householder. So how, the thing is, it's not, and I have desires. Let us be really, really upfront about this. I have desires. You may say that Brahman should be the only desires, but who are you to tell me what desires to not have? I have the right to continue having the desires, and I will continue having the desires, because as you yourself said, if I don't know Brahman, I will know that I will keep having the desires. So here it is. I have desires. Yeah. You fulfill all the desires. What? Yes. In knowing Brahman, the promise is this. And it is a promise. It's not made by a human being. It's made by Veda. It's made by Ishvara. It's made by God. So Ishvara's promise is, you will fulfill all the desires in one stroke. Huh? Yes. You'll fulfill all the desires. How? In the same Upanishad, there is a Ananda Mimamsa, a comparative, what's its name? Comparative analysis of limitlessness and limitless joy. What is the comparative analysis? The Upanishad says, imagine a young man. Oh, what about a woman? No, not a woman, a young man. Why man? Are we being, here discriminating? No. We just are acknowledging the fact that the society is not equal and men can get away with a lot more. So imagine a young man, okay, imagined, and yuva syat sadhu yuva dhyayakah. So imagine that the person is not in jail, is a good person, young, strong, good, full of life, full of pep, full of energy. Oh yeah, but must be kadki, no money. No money, must be completely broke, because all young men are broke. No. Imagine that the whole world's wealth belongs to him alone. Oh, yeah. No, never sick, never completely away from anything. Whatever he wants, he has in the world. Whatever desires he wants, he can fulfill. Let us consider, the Upanishad says, to be one measure of human happiness. Okay. Then what? Te ye shatam manusha ananda. So multiply this by 100. Okay, I can do that. Sa eko devanandah. So that is the one measure, the multiplied human, the utmost in human happiness multiplied 100 times is one measure of the happiness felt by celestial beings, devas, gandharvas, yakshas, etc. Oh, okay, I can go there. I know how to do fractions. I was good at them in school. Like, it all will come back. Then multiply that one measure of the celestial Ananda, like Indra and all those people, Vayu, Indra, Agni, all the 5 elements, forces, etc., celestials. Multiply that one measure into 100. Okay, I can do that. Te ye shatan devanandah eko prajapateranandah. So that is the one measure of the teacher in heaven. Vedanta teacher in heaven enjoys that much Ananda. One measure, 100 measures of Devananda, 1 measure of Prajapati Ananda, then 1 measure of Indra's Ananda. Indra is the ruler of heaven, etc., etc. It keeps going. 100, 100, 1. And at the end of each of these, there is a little phrase. Shrotriyo kamahatah. Shrotriyaha akamahatah. Means that same level, at every level. It's like donors and funders you have. When we did this fundraising for the goddess, we had various levels of giving. One level was what? We had names also for them. I have forgotten. One level was, nameless level. Another one was level A, level B, level C, like that. So each one included all the benefits of the level behind it, and then it included one more extra carrot, correct? Yeah. So this way each level includes something from all the things behind it and one more. And here it says, Shrotriyaha, the one that is well taught, the one who has this knowledge, has the one measure of the human happiness, of the human being, has the 100 measures, has the one measure of the celestial happiness, has the one measure of the teacher's happiness in heaven, has the one measure of the ruler's happiness in the afterlife in heaven, whatever imaginary places, doesn't matter. So whatever is ultimately there in samsara, the person who knows already has. Shrotriyaha akamahatah. So 2 conditions. One is Shrotriya. Shrotriya means well taught by somebody who knows, blessed by the teachings. Yeah. Then akamahatah. Akamena hatah? No. Kamena nahatah. Not destroyed by desire. The one who is able to let go of the desires enjoys everything in full measure. We know this in life. The more you want something, what happens? Tata, bye-bye. The more disappointed you are, the more it goes away from you. The more you go away from it, you are pulled away from it. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. So it is, the enjoyment comes of every material desire by what? By giving it up. You give it up and then you enjoy it in full measure, because once you give it up, there is no, no pinpricks, no thorns on the side, nothing to keep you away from that desire. You give it up in fully, and then it is all yours. You stop controlling, and then there is no need to control. Yeah. You stop wanting it to be a certain way. There is no need for you to want it to be any other way. You appreciate it exactly how it is. And this is the whole beauty of the whole thing. Shrotriyo akamahatah. Shrotriyascha kamahatascha. So if the one who has this knowledge practices vairagya. Vairagya means living simply and letting go. In the light of knowledge, I let go of all the things I'm trying to control. Then all the things that you want, and you want to be a certain way, come to you. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, and you just don't know what to do with it. Yeah. That's what happens. And then there is, so giving up is going with the flow, because whatever I can't have, I let go, because I go with the flow. In going with the flow, you become the flow. In understanding Ishvara, you know you are non-separate from Ishvara. So, how do you get all the desires fulfilled in one stroke? Because the desirer comes to an end. The desires cannot come to an end. Desires are more than the hairs on the head. Yeah. So, one desire you pull out, 10 grow in its place. In fact, we have a demon by the name, what was that name, fellow's name? Shumbha, Nishumbha, something like that. Rakta Bijasura. Right? So, this fellow the goddess killed, okay? Killed means eliminated for the good of the world, alright? Goddess is not bloodthirsty. Please don't think that. So, then when she, vanquishes him, what happens is that he has received a boon. All these demons are devotees gone awry. They all have boons. They are great bhaktas. They are great devotees, but some wrong steps they took and ended up where they, they crossed the line. So, it is said he had received a boon that when one drop of his blood is felt and it touches the ground, then what happens? When that blood drop falls, each blood drop becomes a clone of him. Equally strong, equally annoying, equally, terrible. So, in the beginning you are fighting with one person, then after that you are fighting with a whole endless infinite army. So what? The goddess has to kind of suspend him in mid-air and suspend the force of gravity so that nothing falls down and kills him. So the Rakta Bijasura is a metaphoric depiction of human desire. So the goddess is not killing any demon, it's killing the demonic effect of unmitigated desires that take over the heart. Yeah. So in really vanquishing the desires, in one becoming aware and vanquishing those unmitigating desires, what happens is that one knocks off the desirer. In knocking off the desirer, there is nothing to desire, one is whole. Yeah. This is the thing. If you have 25 pains or innumerable pains and the doctor gives you a choice, I can give you one pill for each of the pains, but I don't know how many pains they will address, or I can give you one pill that takes away all the pains. What will you choose? That is what it is. Knowing Brahman takes away the hurt and the pain of samsara. It's the painkiller personified. Why? Because it removes the cause of the pain. The cause of the pain is ignorance. Ignorance leads to its broods. Yeah. Ignorance, the child of ignorance is desire. Why is the child of ignorance is desire? I don't know what to seek. Therefore, I seek all the mundane and finite things. I don't know that I seek the infinite, and I try to seek the finite and make it into infinite. So any relationship, I'm always giving CPR to it. Why? Because I want it to continue long after it has ended. Yeah. Everything is in my life is on life support. Yeah. I am sued to follow. That's all it is. That is the human life. Everything is kept propped up and on life support. And everything you're trying to sort of eke out whatever you can at the last minute. This is the human condition. So, knowing that you are the whole, let's go of all these things. Let's go of all the pain, all the sorrow. Why? Because you don't know what to seek. That's why desire comes. Desire takes you awry and makes you think that in seeking the finite, somehow you can convert it to the infinite. Wrong. Then because of that desire, if it's not interrupted at that level, the desire leads you to do karma, actions. Why? Because in order to, if I want a milkshake, I have to go get it, right? In hurrying up to go get the milkshake, I might knock off a few people crossing the road. So what? That is the karma, action. The desire creates a pressure to do something about it. And that pressure leads me to cross Ishvara in the form of righteousness, dharma. Yeah, in the form of righteousness, I cross Ishvara. Why? Because the desire leads me to do something that I shouldn't be doing. And then, okay, then what? So if I do what I shouldn't be doing, I get what? Karma gives what? Another grandchild. Grandchild of karma is karma phala. Karma phala means results of action. So, Every action has a result of action. So if I do something, what happens? I have to pay for it, either now or in another lifetime. Yeah. Yeah. So if you avoid a parking ticket, next life perhaps parking attendant. You keep on giving the tickets. Who knows, you know? So it's a very bad, difficult job because no one smiles at you if they see you coming. One job where no one smiles at you is parking attendant. Yeah. So then this is what it is. So karma phala, result of action. And karma phala leads to again good situations to be enjoyed here and hereafter, and not so good situations to be enjoyed here and hereafter, or not enjoyed as the case might be. Then that what happens? Papa punya. No English translation, no English word for it, I already translated. Then finally, the papa punya, if you do not exhaust in one lifetime, and you cannot exhaust in one lifetime, you get what? Many other lifetimes. So punar janma. So you see how it is? Ignorance has a baby called desire. Desire has a baby called action. Action has a baby called results of action. Results of action are good or bad, and the good and the bad results of action give you another baby, which is what? Keeping on being born again and again in the same ignorance, and the ignorance starts again. This is the vicious cycle of samsara. This is what one is trying to avoid. So where are you going to address this flood, this big deluge? No, I will stop the karma phala. Why? I'll pray and do some band-aid over there. Okay, you can pray and do a little band-aiding over there. I'll give some money to charity. Okay, but still what? The original problem, which is the ignorance, is not resolved. It will come back. No, I'll suppress the desires. I will be like the three monkeys. First I'll put a big stone on my head so that I don't think. Then I'll put a, what is that? A eye patch over the eyes. I'll put a eye bag over the eyes. Then I'll put cotton in the ears. So, hear no desire, see no desire, speak no desire. So therefore I'll be happy. Yeah, you can't live in a bubble because every day you are encountering something. So you will desire. It's a human nature to desire. And in fact, if you start to, having this complex, what is the complex? I want to put an end to all the desires. That becomes a desire. I'm not going to desire anything more ever. No, desire, go away. That itself becomes a biggest problem because that becomes a big desire. Ayyo, what are you going to do? So you cannot suppress the desire. You cannot say, I will not do any actions. I will keep on desiring, but I won't do anything. I will tie up my organs of action. I will tie up my hands. I'll buy some cufflinks and then put, not cufflinks, what are they? Handcuffs. Yeah, so I know cuff was there. Yeah, good enough. So I'll buy some cuffs that have links and put them, on my hand. So I will not go eat anything, drink anything, want anything. How is that possible? After a while you go crazy. You will just start having disorders. So therefore where? Yeah, so where to attack this big beast which keeps reproducing? Where do you attack it? One has to know. It has to be attacked at the level where it is ignorance. Ignorance gone. So where do we attack this endless chain? The endless chain is attacked by understanding that all birth happens because of ignorance. Yeah. So we attack the ignorance, which is what the great grandmother of all these broods. Yeah. So when you attack the main cause of all desire, all suffering, all problems, what is that? Ignorance. Ignorance gone, desire becomes a beautiful glory that you can wield. You can have fun desiring. Why? Because fulfilled, the desire is great. Unfulfilled, the desire is even greater. No problem. One is free enough to desire. One is free enough to not have the desires be fulfilled and still be okay. That is what one wants. So we attack it on the level of ignorance. What kind of ignorance? Ignorance about my infiniteness. So ignorance about myself is removed by what? Self is the self-knowledge. Self-ignorance is removed by self-knowledge. Therefore, one has to know that one is Brahman in order to enjoy the fact that I have fulfilled all desires in one stroke, because behind every desire is lurking what? Brahman. It's like a big Halloween party. Somebody is dressed as a moon. Somebody is dressed as sun. Somebody is dressed as a devil. Frightening. Somebody is dressed as, a cow. Somebody is dressed as a dog, a cat. All these things. So all these people are parading in front of you. You want to know who are they? Oh, I really like this one. You like all the persons in the costumes. You want to be friends with them because each one is polite and wonderful and you want to get to know them. You want to be in their life. And you say to the first one, can you please take off your mask? I would like to see who you are. Tada, Brahman. Oh, okay. Then the next one. Oh, I am Brahman too. Really? Then the third one, you must be somebody different because you are dressed like the devil. Okay, let's open the mask. You have a very naughty personality. Let us see who you are. Brahman. Behind every desire lurks the desire for Brahman. Unknown, I'll settle for the mundane because what else can I do? I just say, okay, I'll have another, toy, whatever it is. That's all one can do. Unknown, I settle for the mundane and I settle for an infinite quest. If I don't know what to seek, I become an infinite seeker. But if I know that what I need is the knowledge of the infinite, then, the seeking is a finite process. Thank God. The seeking becomes finite when the infinite is the goal. The seeking becomes infinite when what I seek happens to be finite in time and place. This is what needs to be understood. This is the only thing that needs to be pursued. The only thing. This pursued, everything else is okay. Everything else becomes fun. Everything else becomes whole. It becomes wonderful. If Brahman is not known, it's a costly mistake. Yeah. Ihaiva ched vetti. If the person knows right here, atha satyam asti, the person is, can be called existent. Why? Because Brahman is Sat. So the person who knows Brahman is also Sat. Ihaiva na avedit. In this body, the person doesn't know, I am Brahman. Mahati vinashti. It's an infinite loss. Why? Loss of the infinite is what kind of loss? Infinite loss. Yeah. If you miss the infinite, you are seeking infinitely. Therefore, surround your days with Brahman. Eat Brahman, sleep Brahman, think Brahman, know Brahman. Immerse yourself into the understanding that one is Brahman. No matter where the understanding is coming from, it is coming as a blessing from all the elders, from all the teachers, from all the sources of knowledge, which is really one source. If this knowledge is coming, you have to catch on to it. There is nothing else to do. Not catching on to it is a serious mistake because one is just keeping on more of the same and one is tired of more of the same. And it's not enough to say 8 more years we don't want. It's not about 8 more years. It's about the lifetime ending. This, this borrowed ending, the predilection, ending the penchant for living on borrowed happiness, on this kind of a credit crunch of borrowed happiness forever, knowing that I am the source of that which is everything. That is what one needs, that is what one wants. And in the Shastric tradition, the teaching is never over, so we repeat the lines that we studied, what we studied before again. Om Brahma Vida Apnoti Param. Om Brahma Vida Apnoti Param. Tadesha Bhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam. Veda Nihitam Guhayam. Parame Vyoman. परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. There is a question here. You can also ask questions. One online question from Damini. What about social karma or societal karma? See, societal karma happens, and there is societal karma. What is the societal karma? The societal karma, like when there is a lot of injustice, people pray together for an avatara to come, like Rama or Krishna to come. That is societal karma. Yes, and there could also be bad things done as a society, and for that there are societal results, like suddenly earthquake, tsunami. That is all we have to take. But we are not concerned so much about societal karma. We are only concerned about individual karma. If the individuals mind your karma, that can be a nice bumper sticker. What do you think? Mind your own karma. Yeah. So if you mind your own karma, then other people will mind their own karma. That is the idea. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. This has been very wonderful. Thank you all for joining.